Hello and welcome to the Sports Podcast presented by the Collings Thode Network. I'm your host, Chris Collings, alongside
Nolan Thode. Today we're talking NBA playoffs because the play-in starts tomorrow. I guess you guys, for today, this is probably going to go up Tuesday, hopefully. The first matchups we have the 7 versus 8 seeds, but we'll get into the playoffs in a bit.
I'd first like to talk about not the playoffs, a team that didn't make it.
Yeah.
We'll immediately hop into talking about the Dallas Mavericks and
And
what a
what a
season for
disaster.
them. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness.
And what's
Like,
next, too?
well, first off, I just want to say we kind of saw this coming. I mean, if you didn't see this coming, then you're blind. Like, we all kind of felt this in the air, did we not? When thinking about the trade, like, of course, what happens next? Yeah, but like, let's all reward ourselves for having good hindsight and knowing in the moment like this isn't gonna work
mm, I
because
think
like
at the
I
time of the
knew
trade,
immediately this wasn't gonna work.
yeah. Well, I don't know. It was just one of those, like when two stars get put together, like LeBron AD, like Kawhi PG, I'm kind of like, I like that, you know? I see how they could complement each other. And not to say Luca and Kyrie can't complement each other, but I don't
I
know.
mean,
I feel like,
offensively, yes.
I just feel like
Offensively,
and they gave up their best wing defender, arguably with Dorian Finney-Smith in that trade. Their defense was just not good enough to be even a playoff team, not even a contending team, let alone at the time of the trade. I believe they were 34 and 29, and they were the fourth seed. Which
yep.
another thing to point out, like that's crazy how like weirdly middle of the pack the West has been. Like for the four seed to be only like 5 games above 500, like
Yeah,
in
it's I think
February.
this has been the worst Western Conference I've ever seen before.
hmm
Like,
Yeah,
worst in quotations. It's a bunch of strong
and
teams still.
even in the worst Western Conference, yeah, in heavy quotations, the Mavericks still somehow find a way to lose. Uh, they like the first few games with Luca and Kyrie. I'm not sure exactly how the record was, but I was kind of like, okay, like
Not
this is
yeah.
this is this could work. But we clearly saw after a couple weeks. I think the turning point for me was when they had two losses in a row to Charlotte. I was like, how
That
are you gonna
was
do that?
that was semi-recent too.
How are you
Turning
gonna do
point for
that?
me was when they both couldn't decide on the final shot against the Timberwolves and played hot potato with it.
It's true.
There was no
Yeah, people
system
memed
and there
about
was
that, but it
no
actually ended up happening.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
I yeah, but your original question of moving forward, what do you do? I have a gut reaction of Jason Kidd's got to go, and you need to bring in
Is
anyone.
this only his first year or was he here last year,
I
I
think
think?
he was there last year as well,
Yeah.
which is why it worked so well because he's a guy that preaches defense and having a good offensive system. And as soon as they made that trade, they had no system and they had no defense, and that's why they're now outside the playoffs.
hmm
It's crazy. And then they rested Luca in the final game, or like final whatever. It wasn't the final game, but they rested Luca, shut his season down. Like
Yeah. So there was
crazy, crazy,
controversy around
crazy.
that. Like even though other teams, but it was contending teams that were shutting down their players more so just for
Yeah,
rest for the playoffs.
like Raptors did
Um
it too. And it
but
was
yeah,
like,
there was like
yeah,
the league will be investigating. I'm not sure how like far that's getting picked up.
I'm not
But the
sure.
reasoning is
Mark Cuban
because
doesn't care anyways.
Um, the reasoning, I was kind of also like, why would they sit them? But the reasoning is because that they have, now that they are where they have, I'm pretty sure, the 10th best odds at getting the number one pick in the
Wow.
draft. Um, and their pick, it's like way back. It goes back to the Kristaps Porzingis trade. It was a top 10 protected first for this year. So if that stays within the top 10, if they don't get jumped by a team below them, they get to keep that pick, which, it could go all the
Right.
way up to the top
Yeah,
three. Like, could you imagine, like, getting Wemby on this team? Like, that
that
would
would
be
be
a
funny.
quick acceleration in
Mm.
finding out your
Yeah, you
team's
might
new
keep Kyrie
identity.
around too.
Um, but yeah, so unless they get jumped by that, the Knicks won't get that pick. And it's not like a protection backup or anything like that. It's just like
Yeah.
it's if they get the pick or they don't. So Knicks fans are
Okay.
cheering for like a weird low lottery team to jump up, and Dallas is just hoping that they can stay in the top
Yeah.
10.
No,
But
that's
yeah, it was just
that's crazy to think. Also, in this draft, it's like a lot of people underrate this draft. I think it's going to go down as a pretty deep draft. So having a top
mm,
10 pick would be crucial for this Mavericks team.
the things I've heard are it's pretty deep and it's also like pretty deep near the top where like you're getting like pretty good talent. It's not just like, a good top three and then it starts to fall off. So
Yeah,
getting a guy at number 10 is, from a front office perspective, it's kind of the smart thing to lose that game because at that point your season's done. Like even if you get in as the 10 seed in the play-in, you're not gonna go on a playoff run. I think.
Texans would benefit a lot from learning that strategy.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't want to gloss over them too much just because it's pretty much only bad things to say.
I
Like
still
and now there's a lot of
okay, yeah.
questions going into next season, like end of the off season especially. Like I think everyone expects Kyrie's gone next year.
He's
But is
gotta
Luca
be.
is Luca there next year? I mean, I
I
don't see
say I
I
say
don't
he's
see
he's gonna be there through thick and thin. I don't see a world where
exactly.
he leaves.
I don't see one bad season,
A
making
bad
them
season where
reconsider their entire franchise.
his mind wasn't even on NBA basketball most of the time. He's going through a lawsuit with his mother and just like all the behind the scenes thing. He said that like basketball just wasn't fun for him. That's not a reflection of the Dallas Mavericks organization. That's just a reflection of his personal life and everything that's happening. Like he's in a legal battle with his own mother. Like the guy's obviously not going to have the same enjoyment out of basketball as he usually would.
Mhm,
So I genuinely think that he's going to stick around. It's like it's not everything's a reflection on the organization.
mhm,
I think if Jason Kidd's gone, they have a new system. Christian Wood gets more minutes. Sure, he's not going to be a good defender. That's not what he's there for. He's Christian Wood. I
mhm,
think draft, hopefully with your top 10 pick, get a big man. This is a big, heavy draft. There's a lot of really solid rim protectors. Get a rim protector to play alongside of your other big man, and then actually run Luca with some shooters and a proper paint protector. And I say you run it back next year. Different coach who emphasizes offense and a system again, and
mhm.
you run it back. And I think that will improve the chemistry a lot for Luca. I don't like this narrative of, ooh, well, Luca go. It's like no, like
Yeah. No,
they made the Western
I
Conference
agree.
Finals with little help, and it seems to be the Mavericks thing to do to be really good with minimal help.
And
So,
another thing is like in our lifetimes as NBA fans, the Mavericks have never like not had a face
yeah.
to align with the team. It was Dirk Nowitzki for the first, 10 or 15 years, and it's been Luca for the last 5 years. So if Luca's gone and their team is just a bunch of role players, like it's just gonna be, I don't know,
Yeah,
they're
imagine
gonna
the
fall out of
Mavericks looking
relevance for me.
like imagine the Mavericks looking like what the Brooklyn Nets do right now. Like they're
Yeah.
very close to becoming a team that looks just like that, which is funny because they're their trade partner. But yeah, so
Mhm.
we can hop on to some other things before we hop into the playoffs. Though I do want to talk about some awards.
Yeah.
Bringing up Luca and whatnot. He's not going to win MVP, but for a while there, he was playing like it.
Yeah,
But
I think
yeah,
yeah. He had to play like the MVP for them to do anything. And it didn't even help. Like he was putting up 40-point triple doubles in their
yeah,
losses. But
he was
yeah.
putting up. He put up a 60-point triple double, didn't he, this year? It
I
was
think so.
something close to
I
it.
think he
Yeah.
did that in the game where like he had like the putback at the end of regulation at the free throw line or whatnot. It was the crazy game. And yeah, like it seemed like Dallas, they were the fourth seed when they made the trade. I don't know. Things fell apart, but I really think the season, wasn't going to be the same once they lost Jalen Brunson last offseason. I think that was a big piece to lose. Uh,
Yeah, not even offering him an extension. It's
mhm.
crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, so going into the NBA awards, I know last time we talked about NBA, we pretty in depth about the MVP, so I don't think we need to spend too much time. I know
Yeah,
you.
I think we should just gloss over who we think our winners are, and then I
Mhm.
think we'll be happy with that. Has yours changed?
Yeah, I'd probably still say Embiid. But I wouldn't be surprised if it goes anyway. And another thing too is I feel like just the fact that Embiid and Jokic have the momentum right now, it kind of makes it so that you can only pick the two of them. But like, all
Yeah.
credit to Giannis, like best record in the East, and Middleton's missed a bunch of games. Giannis has had a crazy season. Like maybe
Yeah,
the
Giannis
stocks
has
weren't
been
there, but
incredible.
just like,
The Bucks are the one seed with Middleton missing most of the year. It's like I said
mhm,
it in the last podcast we recorded, but this Bucks team would be up there as one of the greatest teams ever if Middleton was healthy, and
mhm.
that's only because of Giannis. So yeah,
and and
he's been
and
great, but he's a
even when
solid third
healthy,
place.
even when healthy too, he's only been playing like 25 minutes a night. He's been under minutes restriction, it seems like, for most of the season. So maybe they're just waiting until the playoffs get serious. Like I still think in round
Yeah,
one we're not going to see, a fully, let loose Middleton. But they do have the depth. and they do have Giannis, so
Yeah.
they'll still be a
Uh,
hard out. But yeah, MVP, I'd probably say Joel
yeah.
Embiid.
I'm gonna stick by my Joel Embiid pick just based
Mhm.
off dominance.
Yeah, I think in the
MVP
last
numbers
20,
though.
I think in the last
Uh,
20 games of
yeah.
the season, he garnered a lot of, momentum, and Jokic kind of quieted down, missed some
Which
time.
it's the same thing that happened last season too, where Embiid picked up all this momentum right as the season was ending. But last year it wasn't enough because of how historically great the
Yeah,
Joker was. But
Jokic
this
had a great
season it's
season.
like no, like Embiid's also been historically great for a center. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
If only we got
Real
that
quick,
Jokic versus
yeah.
Embiid game.
If only we missed out really bad there.
Hmm.
The Luka Doncic stat line was 60 points, 10 assists, 21 rebounds.
Yeah.
Shouldn't that's
Only
yeah
60-20-10 game ever. I would put I would be very confident in saying that's the only time
yeah
that's ever happened. Um,
what 60, 20, and 10.
yeah.
Because I know there's been a Wilt 60-20 game before, but
Yeah.
yeah,
But
the 10
Wilt
assists
Wilt
on
the
top of it
facilitator?
shouldn't be real.
Yeah.
He
No, it's crazy.
yeah, Wilt led the league in assists for 1 year,
Yeah.
and then that's the year they won the championship, 1968.
Hmm.
Anyways, MVP Joel Embiid because he moves the ball. I think he also led like Wilt when he led the league. It was like
Yeah,
seven
he
or
got the
something. It was
scoring.
not high.
He was the scoring leader as well, and the last time the scoring leader was a center was Shaq in his like 2000, like one of the
Yeah,
most dominant
the
MVP
should
seasons
have
of
been
all time.
unanimous MVP. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which actually, I saw a clip of him on a interview show the other day, and he literally name drops the guy, calling him an idiot.
Yeah.
His name's like Fred something. He's like, "You're an idiot, Fred." And I was like, "My goodness, Shaq, calm down."
Shaq's got the status that he can do anything. Yeah,
Another
moving on
one, we
from
don't really need to talk much about this award because
yeah.
it's like rookie of the year. It's Paulo.
Yeah, I agree.
Again, Benedict had a great year, but it's Paulo.
I think the
If we didn't
rookies
talk much about MVP, then we don't need to talk much about the rookie class.
Yeah, I think the rookies kind of were a big talking point in the first half of the season, but they kind of slowed down. I really think a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's not a ton of rookies on good teams. So
Yeah,
like once those teams started becoming relevant, people really weren't talking about Paolo that much. One name to mention though, Keegan Murray sets the NBA record for 3-pointers by a rookie.
yeah,
So
over two
hopefully
hundo.
he gets some votes. He's a big part of the Sacramento Kings, breaking their playoff drought this
I
year.
I don't know,
Um,
but I can't give him even
I
third
wouldn't give
place
him
in my
I wouldn't give
list.
him I wouldn't give him rookie of the year, but I
I
hope he's
wouldn't
on
give him
rookie
first,
first
second,
team.
or third for Keegan Murray. He falls out completely. He's top five for sure, but I have Jalen
I
Williams and Benedict Mathurin,
Yeah.
both
Well,
above him.
Walker Kessler as well.
Oh, Walker Kessler also has been surprisingly clutch and been the centerpiece of the Utah
Well,
defense.
okay, it's gonna be Paolo likely, but what would be your rookie first team? I would say
Ooh, now
I would
that's
say
fair.
well, we just named
Walker
five
is the
names. We
center.
just named five guys there. If you're gonna count
True.
Benedict as a guard, I'd go.
Also, it's positionless now, or I don't know if the
I don't
rookie
know if
teams
that
are
kicks in. Also,
positionless.
how do you feel about that? Because I really don't like that.
You don't like the fact that it's positionless? I think it should be two guards, three forward centers. I think forwards and centers should be the
True.
same.
Yeah.
And I think you should be able to take a Paul George. He should qualify as a guard or a forward. Like
Hmm.
that's what I think. It shouldn't be positionless. I think we do need to restrict it to. We need two guards and at least two forwards on the All NBA teams for representation reasons.
Hmm.
We can't just have like a full five center. I mean, again, you could say, well, why not? But it's like, I don't know. Why do you not like it though?
Well, I was watching Rick Knight or Nick Wright, not Wick. Oh my goodness, Nick Wright. He was talking about it, and he was saying that he didn't like it, and it was just kind of like I don't know. It's just like this is the best like starting five, I guess, in basketball. And then you also, when you look at the history books, for so many years, LeBron had an All NBA first team forward spot locked up. So when you're thinking who's the second best forward that year, whoever that second forward was on that first team, that's who it is. The center spot too. Like a couple years ago, I'm sure there wouldn't be a center on the first team. Now, obviously, we have Jokic and Embiid.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I just kind of like the fact that it's it,
yeah.
it it
The
forms the
point
starting
that you
five.
said there that I really did agree with is that I think the All NBA team should be like, this is the best starting lineup. Like point guard,
Hmm.
shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. Like that's cool.
Hmm.
Like Like
Yeah.
if you put the best positional player from every team into one lineup, this is the best lineup in the NBA. I do completely agree with that. I think they should have kept that, but it's like I also like the fact of like if 5 centers are the best players in the league, then hell, it's a 5 center team.
Yeah. And then 65 games you need to qualify to make an NBA team or any awards in future years. I really like
I
that.
I love that. I think it was like 12.5% of games missed or something like that.
Hmm.
It's a good number. It's a good percentage. It's like you can miss like around 12% of your team's games and still qualify. Which I love.
Hmm.
Giannis, Embiid, Jokic all qualified for the MVP this year. Not
Hmm. Yeah. Yep.
and then what's that?
No, I think I just cut out for a sec, so
Oh yeah.
I was just seeing if you were there. But yeah, no, I think my first team would be like Paolo, Mathurin, Murray, Williams, Kessler. But I don't know if it'll be that
I
because of the
agree with that.
guard and forward. Um,
I mean, who else would you give consideration though for those spots? Like who now I'm trying to think who else would you argue for to crack that top 5? Shane Sharp, no, he didn't show me enough yet.
yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Um,
Like those really were the best 5 rookies and the 5 rookies that made the biggest impact.
why am I blanking so hard on who went three? Yeah, Jabari Smith, definitely
Yeah,
not
Jabari
over
Smith,
those
he
guys.
was fine, but it was tough to really make an impact on the Houston Rockets.
Hmm. Yeah, but there were a few good rookies this year.
Jaden Hardy had a good final game of the year for the Mavericks. There, he put up
Yeah.
over 20.
There were some
Uh,
weird, like crazy stat lines
yeah,
just
Peyton
because of
Pritchard
the
30-point triple double,
yeah.
or the
Um,
Kenny Lofton 40 points, 15 boards.
mhm. I was
It,
gonna
y-
mention that. Hopefully, I mean,
hey,
maybe that earns him a spot in the rotation in the
I hope
playoffs because,
maybe not rotation, but you might see some
well, I
garbage
mean,
time.
the only reason I say that is because Steven Adams is out for the playoffs.
That's true, which
That's been
sucks.
put out, and Brandon Clark. So that's two big
Yeah,
men.
that's too. Yeah, those are tough
Gonna hurt the
positions
Grizzlies.
to lose.
Um,
Speaking of the Grizzlies, defensive
Depoy,
player of the year. Yeah,
I'd say we're probably in the same boat. Jaren Jackson Jr. Not
yeah.
much to talk about. He's just he's just a such a defensive anchor. Like makes it so hard to get anything done in the paint. He does get himself into foul trouble, but that's just a result of him playing good physical defense, being
Hey, at the
aggressive.
end of the day, if you have 5 fouls,
Hmm.
you didn't foul out.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
stayed in the game the whole time.
Hmm.
Who
So
cares if you made
yeah.
it? Yeah. One of my favorite Kobe. This is something I actually heard. It's just related to fouls and whatnot, and why I don't think fouling a lot is so bad. A Kobe line that I said to Gilbert Arenas after he fouled some random role player. He looked at him and was like, "Did you really just foul that guy? You need all 5 of these fouls for me to guard
Hmm.
me all night." And so it's like, yeah, use your fouls to guard your man. It's like if you
Yeah.
really need to have four fouls by the end of the night, hey, if you're the depoy, then you can afford to do so. And I really do think Jaren Jackson's that guy. Um, Preseasons, I said Evan Mobley was going to be this guy. I see him getting some consideration, but not there yet. We're not there
Oh,
yet.
I think he'll get it eventually.
We're so close. It's like you
Um.
saying Luca MVP at the beginning of the year. It's like we're not.
mm,
Oh, we're so close.
Maybe not. Not to Luca, but
No, but Luca, I feel like next year, any year Luca
if
is
they
a
lose
top 2
Kyrie,
seed, he's
if
gonna
they
be an
lose
MVP.
Kyrie and yeah, if they lose
No,
Kyrie and
yeah.
he brings them back to the playoffs, I could see that being a good story for next
If
year.
if the Mavs finished as a 3 seed this year without trading for Kyrie, Luca would have been the MVP in my mind.
Yeah.
If he
Oh,
kept doing these 60-point triple, well,
yeah.
not 60-point, but these like 40-point triple doubles that he was consistently doing.
Mhm.
Crazy to think that that's something you could say he consistently does.
Yeah. And then most improved player, we both have the same answer.
Absolutely. I don't have the jersey ready, but Lowry Markkinen.
Hmm. I
I'm
think,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, mentioning
not even
Brunson
close.
again,
I was
Brunson was
gonna
really
mention
good.
Brunson. He was great.
But I don't think like the stats jump. People knew Brunson was good. It was just because he was behind Luca, whereas Lowry, went from a solid role player to like
I
a
saw
star
stretch
player.
four. Yeah,
Yeah,
went from a stretch
exactly.
four to the guy that has over 100 dunks and over 100 3 pointers.
Mhm.
Led the league in dunks for a long time
Yeah,
too.
he had an incredible season.
Incredible
Huge
season. I couldn't be
centerpiece.
happier to be
Maybe,
a
maybe
fan.
maybe not centerpiece of the Jazz's like new age team, but certainly like one of their top pieces. A guy
Yeah,
that you can draft, knowing that you have him.
it's crazy to think that if they bring in another star,
Mhm.
Lowry and that guy would be a dynamic duo, which is crazy
Yeah,
to think for Lowry Markkinen. I love it.
yeah.
Made me really happy seeing him be good this year. And then also shout out to Shea for just Shea this year is
Yeah.
what John Morant did last year. It's like we knew this guy was good. This is what we were expecting.
Mhm.
And this year Lowry was just so shocking, but
Yeah,
another year Shea definitely deserved it.
like 60% or like over 60% of his games, he had 30 plus. Like he was
So
just
good.
so
And then
solid.
the
And
two
a
way
big
he
reason,
gets steals and blocks.
absolutely, and a big reason why they maybe not so in the second half of the season, but if you had told people at the start of the season that they would be in that play-in over a team like the Mavericks, like that he was the reason that they were able to make the
Well,
playoffs or the
at the
play-in.
start of the season, man, I'm not gonna lie. I thought the direction for this Thunder team should be to sell Shea because he's a little like he's 25. He's
Hmm.
older than the rest of that core that you're bringing in is gonna be. Sell him for maybe a 20-year-old rookie, or not a rookie, but like a 20-year-old rising star. Like sell him in a Tyrese Maxey type of trade is what I thought, and I was
Yeah.
completely wrong. I was completely wrong. As
Hmm.
they're now a play in team, and he's been incredible, and he looks like he's going to be their centerpiece until until they train him or he walks. But now that like seems like it'll never happen. Like he
Yeah.
proved me wrong so hard this year.
No, they're going to be dangerous. And I don't know if I said this last
Yeah,
podcast, but if Chet comes in and if Chet lives up to the hype, I could see OKC being a top
I
four seed
really
in the
want
West
that.
next
Yeah,
season. Like
like
next season, even because
yeah,
Josh Giddey's also improving, and the fact that they have Shea, like Giddey's able to
and
just
Jalen
be like
Williams
a good
still
facilitator. Yeah,
balling
Jalen
out
Williams,
too.
both
Jalen Williams
Jalen
could take that
Williams.
spot as the second best guy on the team over
Hmm.
Giddy, who continues to facilitate and be a tall Bob Cousy.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I really like the future of the Thunder. I think they're going to be, in 5 years,
Yeah.
potentially the team to beat in the
They
NBA.
keep doing this, man. The Thunder keep doing this. They keep getting these young, exciting big threes and constantly evolving. Like, it's
Yeah,
crazy
the,
that
the
they're
hardest
able to
part is
do
going to be
this.
keeping all their players,
Yeah.
just because it's Oklahoma City and players have been prone to leave. But I don't know. I really like the future of this
Unfortunately.
team, and it's going to really impact the future of the NBA too. We already saw the Utah Jazz kind of sell for a bunch of picks and do all that stuff. But it's proven to be a formula that is generates optimism at the very least. And
Yeah.
once OKC becomes a winning team, it's going to produce a winner. So I think a lot more teams. We're going to see a lot more like aggressive rebuilds when teams go into rebuilds. And I think that's good for the NBA because one, it's fun to follow those. And two, if more people are doing it, it kind of balances things out. And it's going to, allow more star players to go to the top teams that are willing to, give up all their picks.
I also like this because I like pick loading and pick hoarding is going to lead to more star trades and more young studs getting traded, like
Yeah.
more draft day trades, more like the Thunder are going to pick a guy and immediately ship him off, and that exciting thing. Like we have a trade to announce. I think this exciting. I think this is also going to happen with Utah too, but it's also like having all these picks and having all these bodies means you have to trade away some of these picks and bodies, and that's exciting for everyone, I think. So I fully agree with you. I think it's amazing for the game and amazing for the league, this aggressive rebuild strategy. It's not tanking. It's not tanking. We're seeing with the Thunder this season. It's not tanking. They're competing. Like
Yeah.
and with Utah too, is that Utah and the Thunder are both teams that we put into and we're like, dang, they're tanking. And nope,
Yeah.
almost playing teams.
Hmm.
Crazy. I love it. I love it. It's been and they've been two of my favorite teams to watch this year whenever they are available to watch.
Hmm. Yeah. No,
So
absolutely.
so moving on, six man of the year, which was
I'd say
I
Malcolm Brogdon.
yeah, we really should have predicted it being Malcolm Brogdon.
But we didn't know who their starting point guard. We didn't know like
That's
if he was
true.
coming off the bench or if he was starting. Who was your preseason pick? I think mine was Poole.
I oh I want to
Poole just
say
wasn't as good this year. I think them having DiVincenzo hurt Poole
yeah.
just because you know they had another guy who
I
could kind of
said
do the same thing.
I think I had Tyler Hero going back to back,
True. Yeah, that's a good pick.
which
Uh, he,
he was fine, but it's just like he was
mhm,
injured a lot,
yeah.
so it's tough.
Uh, yeah. Not much to talk about there. Brogdon, big
I'll
part of
give
the Celtics' success.
quickly some love because he's really shown up
True.
in the second half of the season. But if quickly was doing this all year, then well, he's not going to be a six man all year. He would have been starting by now.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
no, quickly definitely deserves some love for what he's been doing. He looks like he's going to be one of the faces in New York there.
Mhm. And then coach of the year, we probably are in agreement again.
Mike
Mike
Brown
Brown,
has to be,
Sacramento
has to
Kings.
be.
They break the drought. They light the beam. How many times? How many wins did they have this year? 50 some wins.
50.
But for them to be a 50-win team, that's crazy. For them to win the Pacific, for them to win a division that has the Suns, the Warriors, the Clippers, and the Lakers, the
They're
Kings of a team
48
that comes
wins.
out on top.
Yeah,
Incredible season. And there was one thing, it was like mid-season, he was in an interview, and he says that the mindset that he, brings to the team is to try to not think about the entire season, because when you think about the entire season, that's when it can get overwhelming and it can seem so daunting to try and make the playoffs, etc. He was just saying, let's
yeah.
win 2 of 3 games. Win 2 of 3 games.
I love that. I love
And
that.
yeah, it might have been that, or it might have been 3 of 5, but
Yeah, whatever it
they
is,
stuck to
it's
that formula, and it's proven them, to be a top 3 seed in the West, and a team that if they get hot for a couple weeks, they could do some damage. It's going to be tough.
yeah,
We're about to get into the playoffs, so I'm
yeah,
interested to
it's gonna
see
be exciting.
what you have Sacramento doing.
Yeah, I just gotta
But
say
yeah,
one quick thing about Mike Brown is that whenever you literally watch a culture change happen, that has to be the coach of the year. It happened with Nick Nurse in Toronto, and it's happening with Mike Brown now.
yeah,
So yeah, executive of the year.
Rob
Uh, um,
Pelinka.
Rob Pelinka's your guy.
Yeah, I'd probably say so, just because of the deadline moves that the Lakers made.
It was
you know,
clutch.
Jumping all the way up to the 7 seed, having a chance to even be the 5 seed at a
Yeah,
point.
crazy.
And not just setting them up, it wasn't like they just got all rental pieces. Like, this sets them up to at least compete until LeBron retires. So,
Which is yeah, it was really good moves. If there was a clutch executive of the year award, I would give it to him. But if we're just talking roster construction, I'm gonna give mine to Kobe Altman of the Cavaliers. Is such a good move bringing in
yeah,
just becoming a legitimate, like maybe not a true contender as we get into our true contenders, or as you give us your true contenders for Dark Horse lists. I don't know if
hmm
they'll be a true contender, but this move puts them like right there, right there. And
yeah,
in my
making the
mind,
playoffs for the first
I had
time
them
post
higher than
LeBron.
you in my power rankings too. So
Yeah, first time in the playoffs post LeBron, first 50-win season post LeBron,
yeah,
and
so I
they
gotta
look
give it to
set
Kobe.
up for the future.
Exactly.
The only questions around them this year in making a run is playoff experience, but they're going to get that this year, and they're going to
Yeah,
get it next year, and they're
and
going to
then when
be a
you got one
powerhouse
of
in the
the
East.
greatest playoff performers of our generation on your team, like how much
hmm
playoff experience do you really need when you got
Yeah,
that one guy
exactly.
you know
And
and
then
love?
and then clutch player of the year. We kind of talked about it last episode.
De'Aaron
We
Fox,
probably both have De'Aaron.
of
I
course.
don't I don't know exactly what the criteria on the voters and and what they're looking for, but De'Aaron Fox was the king of the fourth quarter, as you
Well,
mentioned in the
I
last
can
episode.
read you a bit of what they say on Bleacher Report because they also have him. Um,
Good pick.
yeah, it's just that Fox has a lead. He has a league leading 194 points in the clutch, which is 35 more than second places. He's
Yeah, that's
shooting,
all. That's all I need to hear. Like,
yeah, and he's
he
shooting
leads the league
59.
and has a 30
Like
point gap.
he's also averaging 5.7 assists per
hmm
100 clutch possessions. Not only is he scoring the most points, he's also dishing it, passing it to Sabonis, and winning.
hmm
His
Absolutely.
his Sacramento Kings are plus 6.9 points per 100 clutch possession when he's on the floor,
It's awesome.
which is higher than the team's normal mark. Now that's the definition of clutch. I don't know what the definition is either, but that might as well be the definition of clutch.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really happy with this season. I think it was exciting. Lots of good
Yeah,
storylines.
really
Um,
player driven season, which I loved.
Yeah, it was just a really good regular season in the NBA, and I really hope that we get the playoffs that we deserve, that wrap everything up, and potentially
Oh,
make this one of my favorite seasons as a fan in the
I mean,
NBA.
as you heard me say all year, it was my favorite sport to watch.
hmm
This could go down as one of the better NBA seasons. Just we need a good playoffs, which we should
Yeah,
hop right into right
we
now.
should get. We should get a good playoff. Yeah, so I guess I could do my true contenders
Yeah,
versus
let's hear
dark
it.
horse first. So I was categorizing the teams into 2 categories. Some of the teams didn't make either just because I don't see them, you know, having potential to go on a run. But I have 4 teams in the true contender list, and that's Phoenix, Milwaukee, Boston, and Denver. True contenders. Like,
Yep.
again, the dark
Nothing.
horse teams can win. I just
Yeah.
think Those are the four, best teams. And then I also
I
have an
don't disagree.
MVP and an X factor for each of the teams. So my MVP for Phoenix is obviously Kevin Durant.
Yep,
Um,
agreed. Mine too.
and
Has
then
to
the
be.
X factor, for some of the teams, there could be multiple X factors. Like you could say health for this Phoenix team. Like if they stay healthy, who's to say they don't win? But I really just had the bench, kind of
Yeah.
the depth of this team. Obviously, we know that they're starting five whenever KD, Chris Paul, Booker, and Ayton are on the floor. They're going to be good, but it's when those guys need rest because the playoff is a marathon, not a sprint. So you're going to need those guys to step up, like Josh
Oh yeah.
Okogie, Torrey Craig.
Well, yeah. TJ Warren, whoever's left of their bench at this point, really. Yeah.
So I have that as the X factor.
My X factor for Phoenix, I guess, because I'll give one for each team too. DeAndre Ayton's ceiling.
Yeah.
How good is he going to be versus floor? I think
hmm
if he's going to reach that like number one pick, maybe not number one pick, but if he's going to reach if he's going to play worth his contract, then that's
Yeah.
going to be the X factor for Phoenix.
Yeah. And then next moving into Milwaukee, MVP Giannis,
Of
X Factor
course,
Middleton. I feel like that was
Milton's
the
health, yeah.
easiest one that I had to write,
I
just
mean,
because.
they're similar a lot to the Phoenix Suns in my mind with bench. You need Grayson Allen's to go off. You need the Joe Ingles to really show up and show up every night consistently, and
Crowder.
he has
I have a
before.
little more faith in the Bucks
Crowder,
bench.
yeah, me
Crowder,
too.
Bobby Portis.
Which is why Middleton's health is the real X factor for that series. But I see Milwaukee and Phoenix as the as equals right now in my mind.
hmm Boston, you could argue Jaylen Brown, but I just have Tatum as the MVP just because he's, their
Yeah,
superstar. He's the where the attention is. He's going to be the big matchup. And then the X factor for them is not leaning so much on ISO because they're a great team. They're the best offense or one of the best offenses in the league. I think second best. When they're just, moving the ball around, just letting anybody take the best shot. But late in games when they lean on Tatum and Brown a little too much on isolation. I feel like maybe that's gonna hurt them, and just stick to what works. Yeah. So I don't know if you have anything different, but
I love that. My X factor for this Boston team's got to be consistency. You
yeah,
got to have
they've
Grant
also been up
Williams
and down.
showing up and playing good and shooting well. You need Marcus Smart to shoot well and show up and be healthy. And then you
hmm
need your bench guys like Derek White to actually be, maximum Derek. Um, they need all their extra guys to show up and perform. And I think if they are if day in day out, they're going to be clicking. It's tough. You can't
It's
beat
gonna
this
be yeah,
Boston team. Yeah, you need to be a true contender to beat this Boston team. They will not lose to a dark horse if their role players are clicking.
yeah. And then last of the dark horse. This is also in order. So well,
Yeah,
I guess this might reveal some of my bracket predictions. Just well, the teams that I could see going deep. And then lastly, Denver.
yeah.
Uh,
This is the same word for me. I'm not gonna lie to you.
yeah, their
As
MVP.
we'll get into our bracket, you'll see why I said that.
Yeah, their MVP is Jokic.
Has to
Um,
be.
And then their X factor is health. Jokic has been dealing with some hamstring or calf strain lately, so maybe he's
Yeah,
not fully there.
maybe it's a rest excuse. I don't know. Yeah,
Murray, and then
Murray always.
also their bench. Just like because Jokic is, gonna do his thing most likely. It's just can Murray be, a number one scoring option some nights when Jokic, you know, isn't fully there or the matchup isn't good. Like Murray, that was probably the reason they were able to go to the conference finals in the bubble was because Jamal Murray was playing out of his mind.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, for
so
sure.
I could see this Denver team going deep. It's so weird how the West produces really good teams. But like the number one seed isn't always like a favorite, like the Jazz a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
East has been bad for that a few times. Boston coming one seed in I think 2016 and Atlanta coming first in 2015. 2018 the Cavs were nowhere near one seed.
mhm.
But the West is also really prone to doing that. Maybe it's that a lot of contenders do take their foot off the gas at the end of the regular season to
Yeah,
really, Phoenix even was that one seed that while they made the finals,
the
you
year
know,
prior. They were
yeah.
amazing last year in the regular season. It was kind of a big shock when they lost to
My X
Dallas.
factor, I mean, along the lines of health and PJ, he's got to be good. He's got to be
Yeah.
better than he's been.
hmm
Um, that
If he
would be
can be a
my
true third guy on this
yeah.
team. They
Well,
could go
kind
all
of
the
kind of
way.
along the lines of DeAndre Ayton. Like, however good DeAndre Ayton's going to be is identical to however good like MPJ is going to be for where they're going to elevate their teams to.
But I
So
really like the way that they've built this roster up. Bruce Brown, Contavious Caldwell Pope, they
yeah,
got shooters, they got defense, they got guys who, buy into the system and do it well. What's most notable about the Nuggets for me is that in the last few weeks they've been, resting Murray, resting Jokic,
yeah,
resting MPJ, and they've been staying in games like they beat the Warriors without Jokic. Like they've been staying in games with just their
yeah.
depth. So it's interesting. I'm really excited to see how they do in the playoffs. And then so yeah, now for my dark horse contenders, I'm just gonna say these in a random order because
Yeah.
I don't wanna give anything away. But for those, I have the Warriors as a dark horse contender. I have the
Yep.
Cavaliers as a dark horse contender. I have the Sixers, the Lakers, the Grizzlies, the Clippers, and the Kings. I don't think I left anybody out.
Lakers and Grizzlies both being dark horse contenders are very exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess I can just jump into the Lakers. They have the same exact name in both MVP and X Factor, and that's Anthony Davis.
yep.
Obviously, we know what LeBron's going to do. He might end up being the MVP of this team, but it's is AD going to be a superstar or is AD going to be a good I don't
Yeah,
know, good
honestly,
JaVale
man,
McGee
a
like
glorified Christian Wood,
yeah,
like a
exactly.
Christian Wood with defense, or is he going to be Anthony Davis, the superstar? No, completely agreed. He's their X factor.
And if he's the AD that they got in 2020, this Lakers team could win the title. I
Yeah,
really think they could do it. As a 7 seed, they'd be the lowest, I think, ever, maybe, probably,
yeah.
to win the
I think
title.
six seeded Rockets were the lowest in whatever year, 95 or 94
Um,
or
yeah, and
93,
then to
whatever it
do
was.
that, they would also have to be the first play-in team to ever win a series. Once we get into our playoff predictions, we'll see whether or not either of us have any play-in teams, winning in round one.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll see.
and then, yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to add. I feel like the
No, I
Lakers is
completely
pretty
agreed. It's
much
got to
just
be AD.
yeah, and then next I'll go into Golden State, their MVP, Steph Curry, and their X Factor is winning on the road.
Mm,
It's just been their question mark
yeah,
all season.
that's a really good one.
You could put their X Factor as, is Clay gonna be that guy? Is Andrew Wiggins gonna
Is
come back
Yeah,
and
is
be
Wiggins gonna
solid?
come back would be my X factor as last year in the playoffs, Wiggins was the second best player for the entire playoffs.
Yeah,
Wiggins
no,
was their
and
second
then
piece.
he was a huge part of why they won in the finals.
Yeah,
Really gave Tatum problems in the finals. And there's so many good wings in the league where you're gonna need a great wing defender. Obviously, you have
yeah.
Draymond, but Draymond's gonna be worried
He's
with
not
other
yeah,
players.
he's not as much of
When
that
you
guy
play a team
anymore.
like Phoenix, like there's too many guys to guard. You're gonna need Wiggins playing. You're gonna need Wiggins playing at the top of his game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also
That's my
just
X
winning
factor.
on the road just because they're the 6 seed. They
Oh,
can't
yeah,
go on an NBA Finals run if they're not going to be able to win on the road.
yeah,
Going to be they're going to be the underdog or they're going to be the road team in most of their series, I'd say. So we'll see. Yeah, the Warriors they could go back to back. They won the finals last year. They're not in the play-in, luckily. But we'll see.
yeah, we'll see. I
There was
wouldn't mind
another
seeing
thing.
them in the play-in. That would have been pretty exciting.
Yeah, another going back to Nick Wright, another thing that he said, I don't know if it was from the same clip, but he was saying that if the Warriors win the title this year, then nobody's gonna care about the regular season ever again. Like they
Yeah,
treated it like a joke pretty much, and then we're hovering around 500. And if they just come in, fully healthy for the playoffs and win the title, it would just make people,
yeah.
what's the
It
point
would
of
make
those
like
82 games?
yeah, or like all those road losses. Like, did they really matter?
hmm
We'll see. We'll find out. Yeah, that's a
Um,
fine point.
the hat I'm wearing, Memphis. Um, Again, a lot of people would say Jaw, but I have their MVP as Jaren Jackson Jr. He's the depoy, and whether or not he can take on, the league's best big man is going to be a big thing. I said Jaren Jackson Jr. mostly because if the Lakers win their first series or if they win the play-in, they're going to be playing the Lakers in round one, and
Yep.
he's going to be on AD, so that's going to be big for him. And then their X factor is discipline. I talked
Mm,
about Jaren Jackson Jr. getting into foul trouble, but also just the general team. They
yeah.
might get suspended some games if they match up with Golden State in round two. There's no doubt in my mind that someone is going to get handed at least a 1 game suspension
Yeah.
on either of those teams. So they just gotta be focused. I don't think this is the year for Memphis, but another good regular season, 2 seed, and I do think now that Jaw has kind of had the season he's had in terms of the off the court stuff, I think if I'm a Memphis fan, I'm really excited for the future.
Yeah, my X factor would just be guys stepping up
Hmm.
outside of Jaren Jackson Jr. in that big men role because of the absence of Steven Adams. We're
Yeah.
really gonna see a absence of big man play,
Yeah, Xavier
and
Tillman's gonna get lots of minutes. Um,
yeah, you know, thinking about it now, you said Kenny Lofton earlier might get minutes, and I said no way.
yeah,
Who
like
else is gonna get
he
played?
could legit be
Yeah,
their big man off the bench. Like,
that's crazy. That's crazy. And then also, it's their matchups. It's either the Lakers or Minnesota, probably.
mhm.
Um,
Well, it
which is
is.
yeah, exactly. So it's either AD or Cat.
So,
So Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be hella important. So I like you putting him as the MVP.
mhm. Sacramento, I have their MVP as De'Aaron Fox. We talked about
Yeah,
him as clutch player of the year. He's gonna be the guy to put this team on his back. And then their X factor is defense. They're the number one offense in the
yeah,
league, believe it or not. Can they play defense against some of these powerhouse teams? You're not going to be able to outscore your opponent every single night, so they got to tighten up on the defensive end. Otherwise, it could be a first round exit. So
yeah.
we'll see.
Completely agreed. There's not really much else to say about them other than defense and consistency.
Yeah.
Also jitters. You know, not getting the yips. It's their first time in 16 years. You get a little
Hmm.
nervous.
Cleveland, I have their MVP as Donovan Mitchell, as you
Yeah,
mentioned, one of the best playoff performers of the last, you know,
however
15,
long.
well, maybe not 15 years, but
No,
of the
because
last
LeBron
5 years.
James. Yeah,
Yeah, of the last 5 years, he's always showed up in the playoffs, more so than he does in the regular season. Even though this year he had his best regular season, I'd say, of his career.
he got a
Um,
70-point game.
yeah, and then
71 or whatever it was.
Their X factor is just the lack of experience. Is that going to
Yeah,
hurt them as much we think it will? If not, on paper, this Cleveland team has everything, a finals winner has. They have top 10 defense, top 10 offense. They have multiple guys that can take that final shot. And if Evan Mobley, takes his game to a whole nother level, if he's like a 20 and 10, defensive beast in the playoffs, this Cleveland team could go all the way. And I wouldn't mind seeing that.
hey, there's a reason why I have them top five in my power rankings, and I have been consistently overrating them, is because they have all the makings of a top team, of a championship team. So yeah, completely
Mhm.
agreed.
And then the final two teams, I have Philly. I have their MVP as Embiid, the MVP of the league. Obviously, he's their MVP. And then their X factor is James
Health.
Harden.
Oh, their X factor in my mind has to be health, which extends to James Harden.
Yeah,
But
health and James Harden. I just have James Harden as, you know, his play, I think, is what separates them from being a team that can win a round or two to a team that can win it all. I think if Harden,
I
you
agree with
know,
that.
yeah, we know what he can do as a playmaker, but there's going to be nights where just Embiid isn't, you know, putting up 40-point games. So Harden's gonna have to, take some of the scoring load, and then yeah, health as well. Tyrese Maxey. There's lots of X factors surrounding Joel Embiid. Uh,
Yeah, there's a lot
but
of variables here.
it's a very weird 3 seed where and they had one of the best records in the NBA. But it's just it's I don't know. They haven't made it past the
Yeah.
second round with Embiid, so can they beat the Celtics in round two, which is who they'd probably meet
And
up with.
there hasn't been a single Philadelphia playoff run with a healthy Embiid the whole time.
Hmm. One
And
thing that is
Harden
on their
hasn't been
side,
healthy in the last 3 seasons in the playoffs or something like
one
that.
one thing that is on their side is well, kind of on their side but not, is the Eagles made it all the way to the Super Bowl and the Phillies made it all the way to the World Series. So
They
it's
have
been
the
a good year.
yeah.
It's been a good year for Philly sports in their own conference.
Yeah, they
um
might go on and lose in the finals maybe.
yeah, so we'll see. This is definitely the best chance they've had since that, well, they were the 1 seed a few years ago, but
Oh, yeah,
that was
since Ben
still.
Simmons passed it away from the open layup, this is their best chance, I'd say.
Mhm. And before then, talking about the 2019 team, obviously
2019 would have won the
that
championship if not for Kawhi
the
Leonard.
shot. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then lastly was the Clippers. I think they can do it.
Still, yeah,
Their
still have the
MVP is
best dark
Kawhi.
horse.
Their MVP is Kawhi, obviously, and then their X factor is health. And
Yeah.
then also Russell Westbrook a little bit, but I don't know.
He's been balling. He's been balling. I've been loving it. I've been really appreciating what
Exactly.
Russell Westbrook's been
And
doing.
something that I haven't been on social media so much today, but something that I haven't really seen is we are getting KD versus Russ in the first round.
I
Um,
haven't even thought about that once. This is my first time even like
yeah, exactly. KD
Wow.
versus Russ. We finally get it in a playoff series.
Wow.
There could be some heat there, and these teams already
Yeah.
don't like each other anyways because of the conference finals. With the Pat Bev shoving Chris Paul and all that. Obviously, Pat Bev's not with the Clippers anymore, but there's definitely
Still
some
has to be.
history with these teams. I'm excited for that. Like when that first happened, I was cheering for Golden State to get Phoenix in the first round just because you know
Yeah.
those are the two teams that I don't want to see win. So
Yeah.
at
So
least one of
getting
them's
one
out in the
out.
first
Yeah.
round. Um, but then I was like, oh man, the Clippers. But then I started to think about it more and more. Like Haiti versus Kawhi is a big storyline. And then Russ, Chris Paul. It'll be a good series. But yeah, and then their X factor is health, specifically Paul George. If he can come back,
Yeah.
the thing that's positive is he's only been ruled out for the start of the series, not the series as a whole. So if he can
That's a
come
good
back
sign.
and in a potential game 6, game 7, that could really help them. Just because I think that lightens the load a bit on Russ, which probably helps Russ, but maybe doesn't because I feel like Russ sometimes when he has all the pressure does better, but we'll see.
Yeah, we will.
But
It's
yeah,
gonna be exciting.
that's my top 11. Sorry to the Knicks, the Heat, the Nets, and the Timberwolves, Bulls, like some of the play-in teams. Obviously, I don't
Yeah.
see doing much. But yeah, so those are the teams that I could see winning the title this year.
So yeah. So now we
Yeah.
should hop into some predictions.
hmm
Let's
So
start with the
first off,
plan.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We have to start with the plan. The 7 seed Lakers versus the 8 seed Timberwolves. We have official ruling that McDaniels, from punching his hand onto the wall, is out for this game,
Pull the Kareem.
and then also Rudy Gobert for not punching the wall, while punching Kyle Anderson is he's suspended for this game by the Timberwolves, which is an interesting decision by their team.
They have to. They have to.
They have to, but it's also like, I have the Lakers winning this. I think even
Yeah.
with Gobert and McDaniels, I'd probably pick the Lakers, but now it just makes me more confident
Yeah.
in
The
them.
Lakers are gonna win. I'm not even gonna think twice about it.
Yeah,
But the other matchup, it's gonna be a little more exciting. I got
yeah.
the Pelicans.
Okay, yeah. The Pelican, yeah, I have Pelicans over OKC as well. I could see OKC winning if Shea has a
Yeah.
really good game, but yeah, the Pelicans have been playing pretty well down the stretch. And yeah, I like them to take care of business on their home court as well. I was talking to my brother the other day, and I was thinking, I was like, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, just because of like when the play was first introduced, it was during like COVID time, so I
Yeah.
don't know why I thought the play-in was played at a neutral site, but like no, you're getting like this is gonna be a game in New Orleans. So hopefully the fans show up to that game, make some noise. The Pelicans just missed out on the 8 seed. They lost to the Timberwolves literally yesterday
Yeah.
to not make it into that first game, which would have been a different story. Lakers versus Pelicans. The way the Pelicans have been playing as of late. But yeah, I'm agreeing with you. Go with the Pelicans, and then I
And then
guess we can just
yeah,
finish the West before we go into the East. Who do you
I have
have between the Timberwolves and Pels?
Pelicans. Even
I
with
have,
Brody, even with Gobert coming back, Pelicans are gonna beat them.
yeah, I have the Timberwolves just because the Timberwolves won yesterday with all
Timberwolves
that
season's
happening.
over. Their season's over. They ain't win another game.
We'll see.
Booking it now.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't think it matters too much. I think Denver beats either of those teams in a
Yeah,
7 game
no, Denver in
series.
4. Denver
Um,
in 4.
But yeah, I have Minnesota just because I liked the way that they were playing down the stretch. They had a good win. They had some good wins. Cat's been pretty good coming back
Yeah,
from
but Mike
injury.
Conley has been a really, really good asset
Mike
for them.
Conley's been really, really good. But
But
I don't know. I just hate to see them missing the playoffs after, all that's happened this season
I
just
mean,
with
I
the
love to see it. It's hilarious,
yeah.
but
But you're a T Wolves guy.
I am. I like them. I just don't like this. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of stupid trades.
Yeah, fair
And
enough.
4 first round picks is stupid if you ask me. They're going to be paying for that until 2029.
The thing is in a trade like that too, I'm fine with it if you are a established like
Like
top
the
seed in your
Lakers.
conference type of thing.
Even
But
even
like
the Lakers
but
coming
like
off
the
a bad year.
Timberwolves were a play-in team last year that won that had a good series against the Grizzlies. They didn't win a series last year, and then they pretty much jeopardized their future, including Walker Kessler. Like imagine if they just
Walker
had
Kessler.
Walker Kessler instead of
Yeah.
Gobert
And Jared
and all those
Vanderbilt.
picks and those Janet Vanderbilt and Beasley.
And Malik Beasley
Um,
still to come off the bench. Like, oh,
what could have been? But
Yeah, it's
instead, you
like
got to
it's like
live
the
with.
Lakers brought in one guy and sold a lot of the future, but that one guy was Anthony Davis, and they built a championship roster around that. Now the Timberwolves think they could bring in one guy, being Rudy Gobert, and then that's it, peas and carrots.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, they're gonna get. Who I don't have them being there, but New Orleans, who I have in the first round here,
Mhm.
swept
Yeah.
in four.
Well,
I
we
just
got to talk about the East now. East plan, East plan.
yeah, East. I yeah,
Which
I
also
wanted
doesn't
it.
matter much.
No, the
When
play
you
in.
talk about who they eventually end up playing, but I have Miami beating Atlanta in that 7-8 game. Miami's the home team. Miami's the better like playoff team in my opinion. Uh,
Yeah,
Atlanta could win that game.
I got
Um,
Atlanta winning that game and just qualifying.
yeah, okay. So yeah, I just have Miami over Atlanta just
Like
because
I like Miami and what they got, but it's just
just because
like
Jimmy in the playoffs too is
Jimmy in the playoffs is
in a
really
one
good.
game, Jimmy Butler's one of those guys like where he can't really explain it. He just gets it done.
Yeah,
Um,
I definitely get what you mean by that, but I just like Trey Young. Even if Trey Young gets shut down, they have Dejounte Murray. Dejounte Murray gets shut down. Sadiq Bey could still drop 20, and then they have Clint Capella fully healthy and Onyeka Okongwu fully healthy. It's just
mhm.
like they got the pieces to counter what Miami is going to bring them, and I just like in a paper matchup, I like
Yeah.
Atlanta.
I think it's the battle of teams that did not live up to preseason hype. I don't know how much
Yeah,
preseason hype Miami had, but they were the one seed in
definitely.
the East last
I
year. I
mean, they
don't think
definitely
people
had
had them as a
playoff
play-in team.
hopes over teams like Brooklyn and New York.
Well, not Brooklyn at the start of the season, but
No, no, no. But
and what
Brooklyn
I'm
after
so
the trade deadline.
surprised about is that Brooklyn didn't fall into the play-in. Good on them for,
No, great for them.
for tightening up, at least enough to be that sixth seed. And then next we have the Raptors versus the Bulls. I'm interested to see who you pick.
DeRozan versus the Raps.
Hmm
Being a Raptors fan my whole life, I know not to pick DeRozan in important games, so I'm gonna go with the Raptors actually taking this as the 9-10 matchup, or their yeah,
Yeah, I also have the Raptors. Feel like they've been playing, you know, not playoff basketball for the last month, but like they've been, a more focused team, a better
yeah,
team. OG's back. Hopefully, I think he's, day to day, but
yeah. They were resting him, which is why he was listed as day to day, but he's good. He's back.
yeah. So I have the Raptors in that
No,
game.
I got the Raptors beating DeRozan, but the next game, Raptors versus Miami, I got Kyle Lowry beating Toronto.
Interesting. My
That's and
matchup is
that
a little
is
different,
yeah.
because I have them playing the Hawks, and I think the
I no,
Raptors get it done against
I
the
think the
Hawks.
Raptors would beat the Hawks if I had a Raptors Hawks matchup. I completely agree with you. I love that paper matchup for the Raptors,
Hmm
but sadly, I think the Hawks are better than the Heat in this rock paper scissors game.
Yeah. The
Uh,
playing the thing is well, in the West, we'll see, but at least in the East, like it doesn't
this
really matter.
this
Like
one doesn't
Milwaukee's
matter
gonna
at
steamroll
all.
over Atlanta,
Yeah,
Miami.
no,
Uh but yeah. So now we get into the actual playoffs.
yeah.
My East first round matchup, 1 versus 8. I have Milwaukee beating the Raptors in 4.
I
Sorry,
have
Raptors. Maybe we win a game. Um,
I have
it,
Milwaukee over Miami in 5.
Okay.
Miami gets a
Yeah,
game.
I would see Miami winning a game in that
I have
series.
Miami getting a game at home, game 3, gentleman sweep style.
Hmm
Um,
Yeah. And then
Also,
uh
on the NBA Pick'em Challenge website, the picks for that matchup is 100-0
yeah,
for Milwaukee.
wow.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, not surprising.
No,
It feels like a 1 versus 16 NCAA kind of thing.
it
Uh
really does. Actually, it feels like a 116 and a 215 when we go to Boston first. For me,
mhm.
Atlanta.
Yeah. And then yeah, you probably have Boston in 5, 4.
I gave Atlanta 2 games.
Okay. So Boston in
I have
6.
Atlanta going down 3-1, then winning game 5. I think would be at home.
No, it'd be in
No,
Miami
no, I
or
have them
not
winning.
Miami.
Yeah,
It would
and
be in
then
Boston.
losing at home in game 6. That's what I
Yeah.
had.
I have Boston. That's my matchup's Boston versus Miami, which I think produces a really good
That would
series.
be a good series.
And I have Boston in a surprising 7 games.
Oh, that's
You talk
healthy.
about the consistency of the Celtics. Yeah, I feel like this is the team that
Yeah.
they don't want to play. They don't want to play Miami. They don't want to have to face Jimmy Butler. But yeah, I think they get it done in 7. I think they could get it
I
done
like
earlier
it.
than that. I just
Yeah.
like having,
I just
uh,
don't trust Boston to beat anyone in 5 or games or fewer. Like
Yeah,
I just,
exactly.
it's that consistency as the X factor. I don't think they're a cohesive enough unit with how they've been playing down the stretch
Mhm.
to beat anyone like that to win 3, 4 games in a row.
Yeah.
So
And then the 3 versus 6 in the East is the Sixers versus the Nets. Good on the Nets for making it. I think Philly is cheering in the streets the fact that they were the team that ends up
yeah,
to get to play the, like
the layup.
imposter playoff team. The Nets are
Yeah.
good, and in a
Would
single
the
game,
Nets, if the Nets were in the play in, do they make the playoffs?
mm,
Not in my
who?
mind.
Well, if it's Miami, so I think
I
Atlanta
think
beats them in that game, and then I think the Raptors beat them
I think Raptors, Atlanta, and Miami
and
are all better than Brooklyn.
Chicago. Like I,
Eh.
but I don't think Chicago beats Toronto, so they wouldn't
No,
that
exactly.
matchup wouldn't happen anyways. But I do have Philly in 5.
I also have Philly in 5.
I'm giving the Nets a game.
I'm also giving them this game.
You
I
can
thought
count
I
on.
thought sweep, but I was like, nah.
I'm really excited to see Bridges in this series.
Yeah,
Um,
Brooklyn
because
Bridges.
like him as the number one scoring option for the last little stretch in the regular season is cool, but like to be the number one scoring option for a playoff team, like I don't
That
know,
would be, yeah.
it's gonna be
All
fun.
eyes will be on him. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
and then the last matchup.
Also,
Oh,
well,
go ahead.
before that, we were talking about the players going off in the final game of the year. Cam Thomas had 46 points.
Yeah.
Why?
His fourth 40-point game of the year.
Yep, 3 in a row, and then that one.
And then another storyline in this series that nobody's talking about because it doesn't matter at all is Ben Simmons versus his former team.
Ben
Harden versus his former
versus
team. I think Harden playing against the Nets is probably more, you know, well,
well,
I'm
Ben
interested to
Simmons.
see
Ben
I'm
Simmons
interested
isn't
to see
gonna
the fan
play.
reception. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
interested to see the fan reception from
The
the
fan
Philly fans.
percentage picks for that is 92% for Philly.
Yeah, I'm surprised 8 people, or not 8 people, 8%
Eight,
of people. Yeah, I would be surprised if eight
if eight
people
people
had the
said
Nets.
Brooklyn,
Like honestly,
it
I think
feels like it's
this is a
bad
layup
for them. Yeah, that's the
to
layup.
use the NBA term. And then yeah, the last series of the East first round, is good is a good series.
That's a great series.
Cleveland versus the Knicks. I feel like we probably have the same winner, but I'm interested to see how many games you think it takes.
Mine is 6 games for Cleveland.
Mine's 7
6.
games for Cleveland.
Ooh, you got full 7.
Um, they
I see
haven't been
them
as
finishing the job in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, they're one of those teams where they're like really, really good at home and like okay on the road. Like I know a lot of teams are like that, but Cleveland's one of like the
Yeah.
more like relies on those home games. And Madison Square Garden is like can be a difficult place to play.
Oh yeah. Unless you're
Julius
named Trey
Randle's
Young.
coming into the season or coming into the series limping a little bit. He hurt his ankle a couple weeks ago. So it'll be interesting to see how much
Yeah.
that affects him. Obviously, Jalen Brunson's been a big X factor this
Jalen
team.
Brunson's going to be the MVP of the team throughout the
Yeah,
series. He's
no, and
going to drop a few
I
30
like all the
pieces.
moves. I like all the moves that the Knicks have made. You know, the team that they had a few years ago was fun, but it wasn't like it didn't seem sustainable. And
Yeah, it
now
was
with
a
guys
bunch
like
of vets
Brunson,
too.
you
But
know,
yeah,
quickly stepping up. Guy like Josh Hart, bringing him in, I really like.
love
Uh,
that Josh Hart pick. So,
Hartenstein even a little bit, just as like a solid, guy who's gonna go out get boards. Yeah, I think it'll be a good series. I think the Knicks could win. It's a 4 versus 5, but again, Cleveland, even with the
yeah.
lack of playoff experience, I think they figured it out.
And the fan picks for that one are 85% Cleveland, which
I'm
yeah.
I'm surprised it's that much,
Huh.
considering the Knicks have a good fan base too.
But nice to have a
Um,
huge fan base, but maybe the Knicks fans are also a little realistic.
yeah. So we have the same exact East second round, but we'll get to that
I would
after the
do.
West.
Now, not hard
Um,
to predict the
yeah,
East, I don't think.
yeah. The East is pretty
West,
chalky.
West, I think we're gonna have the same West, but I still think it's like, gonna be a really fun West.
I don't
Um,
know if we have the same West.
we'll see. First round
Denver.
matchup: Denver in 4, as I was saying earlier,
I have Denver in
without
5 over the
without
Minnesota
hesitation.
Timberwolves. So
Denver in 4 over New
you're not gonna like
Orleans.
me giving the Timberwolves 2 wins in the playoffs in total,
Oh
including their play-in, and
no,
then
their season
against Denver.
ended. Their season
Yeah,
ended as soon as both punches were thrown.
we'll
No
see.
recovering.
Um, we'll see. I like
No, of
Ant.
course.
He's got that dog in him.
That one actually, surprisingly, the percentage picks are 95% for Denver. So 5% have a Minnesota, LA,
Well,
winning that
in
one.
in that, does it you pick your play-in?
No, that one is it's either New Orleans, OKC, LA, or Minnesota, and you just pick one of the 4 teams. Like you just
Okay.
pick
Yeah,
a
I
team of
think
those.
that 5% is just people who think if the
LA.
Lakers end up as that 8 seed,
Exactly.
which makes sense.
Oh yeah.
The 2 versus 7, we have Memphis versus the Lakers.
Yep.
Um, I have the first time in NBA history team wins the play-in and wins a series. Even though Memphis is really good, great regular season team, I just think losing Steven Adams and Brandon Clark is you can't really come back from that.
Yeah. And there's
And
levels to it. One of these teams has been there before, or not teams, but one of these teams has that
mhm. And
DNA
the
of
and the
being there.
Lakers just they got a lot of momentum on their side right now, and I think they match up really well against Memphis.
Yeah.
Obviously, AD is going to have a harder time against Jaren Jackson
And
Jr.
LeBron had some time off though, so he's
But
rested up for the
LeBron in
playoffs.
the playoffs is a
How
different
many
animal.
games?
I have it in 6.
I also have it LA in 6.
So yeah, uh, it'll be nice to see if this LA team can make a run. Their first task is likely Memphis if they beat Minnesota, which I think they do. So yeah, I have Lakers in 6, and then this is the series where I feel like we might disagree on because I have no clue who you're gonna pick in this series. The 3 versus 6,
3 versus 6.
Sacramento versus Golden State.
This series is going 7.
I also have it going seven
No
games.
matter what, this series is going 7. Me personally, maybe I'm riding high a little bit too
Let's
much. I
go,
got
Kings in
Sacramento in 7.
7, Kings
Sacramento
in
in
7.
7. Let's go. I
Yeah,
love Sabonis
I love
coming
that
in.
pick. I love that pick.
I just I just don't know how the Warriors match up with this Sacramento team. It's just they're
Hmm.
better on the Sacramento's better at offense and defensively. I just don't think this Golden State Warrior team can come anywhere close to hanging with this Kings offense. Like that's
Yeah.
really like you say you can't outscore teams, but if the shots are not falling for the Warriors, they are FUCK. Indeed, they are not winning a game if the shots aren't falling, and they're
Yeah.
never like you say you can't outscore opponents. Is Golden State going to be able to stop the
Mhm.
Kings?
The,
No.
the difference the difference for me is like Sacramento is really good beyond the arc, but they also have a great inside game with a guy like
Mm-hmm.
Sabonis there, whereas Golden
Yeah.
State just relies way too much on 3-point
Too much
shooting.
on threes and getting to the line and moving the ball, and it's just like it's like what you said with Boston where you don't want them to ISO, but it's like if they need to ISO, you trust them.
Yeah. Another
I
thing
don't
too
trust Golden State.
is Golden State is I feel like they're either out round 1 or they're gonna make a deep run. So I like picking Sacramento here. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
like it. And the thing too is, Golden State Warriors fans are probably so happy that they are the team that gets to play Sacramento because people think they're fake contenders.
Yeah, they
But they
think yeah.
probably only know De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. They probably have never even heard of Herder, heard of Keegan Murray.
Yeah, they probably
The
don't they
supporting cast of
couldn't
this Kings
name
team
like
can
Malik
step up.
Monk, they probably didn't know he was an NBA player until he played for the Lakers.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly. So the casual Warriors fans will be shocked that they
I'm
lose
and,
to the
and
Sacramento
I'm so
Kings.
glad they kept Harrison Barnes as he's probably going to be one of the more important
Oh,
pieces
and
in
Harrison Barnes, absolutely. He's
yeah,
he's
and
playing his former
containing
team.
the Wiggins and the Clay Thompsons and stopping them from really going off and putting up monster performances. I almost
Mhm.
wanted to say Clay Thompson was my X factor for the Warriors because if he is well, he was good this regular season. He was making his threes, and if he can continue that into this playoff run, then it's going to be scary for the Sacramento Kings. But I like the Kings wing defenders. I like the Kings guard defenders. Like, sure, like the X factor for the Kings is going to be defense, but on paper, it's a good matchup.
Yeah, no, I really like this series for the Kings. And another thing too is, the Warriors, their question mark is their ability to win on the road, and this is the place where you don't want to play right now because the Sacramento Kings haven't
Mm-mm.
made the playoffs, in some of these fans' lifetimes. So I know that
Yeah,
this arena is going to be
they might. It
loud.
might be some of the greatest atmosphere for a playoff game we've ever seen,
And it's going to be a good series.
and
We got the
we need a
California
playoff
matchup.
beam. We need a playoff beam.
Yeah. No,
And these
that would
two
be
are
great.
actually the closest two cities, like in California, to each other: Sacramento and Golden State, and
Mhm.
off the coast there.
Yeah, so that
Like
beam will get lit in game
I do
7.
remember earlier in the year, Golden State Warriors were like, we'd rather play the Kings than the
Mhm.
Lakers because
Yeah.
of travel. They said because of travel, and it's a 1 hour. 1 hour to get from Sacramento to Golden State, and it's 6 hours to get from LA to Golden State. So
Yeah.
they weren't wrong, but it's they're also
Like,
throwing shots at them.
mhm. Yeah.
So
So, yeah, I'm
I
glad we're in
love that
agreement on
series.
this. So
and
now
7
I know
games.
for sure that we have the
Yeah,
same exact West
and
because
before we go on, 26% pick Sacramento. 26%. I know Golden State's got a huge fan base, but still,
yeah, I love
only
it.
a quarter of
I
people. No,
love it. Nobody's
7
giving them a
games,
chance. Barely
Sacramento.
anybody's
No
giving
one's
them a
giving them.
chance.
No,
And
no.
I think they matched up real like this is a good matchup for them playing
It
them
is. I
versus
would much rather have them
the
play.
Lakers. Like,
Yeah, I think they could have beaten the Clippers. Clippers were the only other team where it's like I wanted them to play them.
yeah,
Everyone
just
else,
because of the
no, thank
PG
you.
health. But it's just like
Exactly.
the
Even with
unproven
PG
team
healthy,
versus
they beat them
Kawhi.
in that 170-point game,
It's true.
and
Could
I
you
do like
imagine
the
that for
matchup there.
7 games? But yeah, and then the last series we have the 4 versus 5, Phoenix versus the Clippers.
Phoenix
Um,
and 5. I'm not even gonna.
I have Phoenix in 6 just because of Kawhi. Just because
Respectable.
of Kawhi.
Respectable.
And then maybe Russ wins a game, and then also maybe PG comes back late in the series and they, win a game 6
It's
down three
I
one,
just can't
or
believe
game
that
5
their
down three
starting
one.
5 is CP3, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, DeAndre Ayton, and whoever else you want to throw out there with them.
Yeah,
It's crazy how talented that is and how just it's like, yeah, sure, you say because Kawhi they'll win 2 games, but it's like, God, Kawhi's got a lot on his plate. He's got a lot on his plate.
The interesting thing though that you
Yeah.
mentioned, I can't believe their starting 5 is this, and you list the names.
I listed 4
When
guys.
in NBA history has that team ever been the team to win the
Okay.
finals? The team
Uh
of like just look at their team on paper.
Miami Heat, but
I
that was
guess.
LeBron is special. Where it's like I don't know. Like the only reason I had we'll keep going with this conversation later on with our later matchups, but I genuinely believe that like when you do that thing of look at this team on paper, the immediate teams that come to my mind are the Miami Heat with LeBron James, D Wade, Bosh, and then the Golden State Warriors with Kevin
True. I
Durant,
guess yeah, the Lakers with
Kevin
that Golden State team.
yeah,
I don't know why I'm
Kevin
forgetting
Durant,
about
and
them.
then Curry, Clay, and Draymond.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant's one of those on paper guys that you can trust.
hmm
And we'll get into
Um,
that more as we go into these later matchups. But we both have the same first
we
round.
have the same exact second. Well, yeah, second round once it gets to it.
Yeah,
First round's different, just because of like
of
playing
course.
matchups.
But we have the same results.
And then another thing, just to mention, just a thought about that Miami Heat team in the early 2010s. The last 5 years of the NBA, or last, I don't know, 10 years of the NBA, make me so happy as a LeBron fan because it proves that that team was not as crazy of a super team as it was
No.
in 2010. Like when that team was put together, people were like, what the heck? But now that's just like a fourth seed. Like,
Yeah. Now, yeah, if you put that team now, oh, that'd be a great team, sure. But
Mhm.
they'd be neck and neck with a bunch of these other teams. Yeah, no, completely agreed.
And then, yeah, so moving into
That's
the
just how
second round.
talented the league is, too, though. You can't
Yeah, that's
discredit
true.
how just
That's true.
talented the league is. Oh,
Moving
Jesus.
into the second round, I guess we'll go back to the East. We have the one-seeded Bucks versus the four. I'm glad that we have the same matchups because now I don't have to, you know, we can just run through the same exact scenarios. We have the Milwaukee Bucks versus the four-seed Cleveland Cavaliers. Feel like again probably have the same winner in this. I'm just curious to see how many games.
Yeah. I'm just plugging in my computer right now.
Yeah, no worries. I'll take the floor. I have Milwaukee winning in 6. I think if Cleveland, can beat the Knicks, especially in a 7-game series, that's, you know, maybe not playoff experience to go on a finals run, but like having a good 7-game series where you come out on top under your belt will do a lot for your team. And then yeah, 6 games again. Cleveland on paper is a team like that should be put up there with some of the best teams. It's just a matter of the playoff experience. So I
Yeah,
think
you
I think
got.
it goes 6 games, but I do think Milwaukee is destined to go to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, I
Um,
also have Milwaukee in 6 here.
yeah,
It's
just
just the experience. It's experience. It literally is. It's like Cavaliers are good enough to make it out of the first round just based off talent,
yeah.
but based off experience, they're not really there yet to get further than that.
And if their matchups line up, maybe it's good for the Cavaliers. Like playing the Knicks, that's a team that doesn't have a ton of playoff experience either.
Yeah,
So
they
there's
did
really
get out
no
of the first round in
disadvantage.
their one chance.
Yeah, there's really no disadvantage there. Whereas team against Milwaukee,
Oh,
they're a
Milwaukee will eat
proven
them alive. They'll eat them alive.
finals winner. So yeah, and
But I
then
still give
again,
them 2 games. I still give them two
it's gonna
games.
be tough to win in the Pfizer Forum for them. And then Bucks, they're just the best team in the East in my opinion. Just like the team I trust most in the East, I guess I would
Yeah,
say.
I'd
Um,
agree. I mean,
and
that's what I was
then
saying last time.
We have the 2 versus 3 Celtics versus Sixers. I really hope this happens in the second round because I would love 7 games of this. Um,
I
a
also
good
have
good
it. I
Atlantic
also have
Division
it going
rivalry.
7.
Um,
Um,
good Atlantic
yeah,
Division rivalry. Uh, the
a
good
low
the thing
key, really good rivalry.
and the thing I love about it too is the last like couple times they've matched up in the playoffs, it's been like Ben Simmons shut down for the season, like in the bubble, and the Celtics won in like five.
Yeah, and it
So
wasn't really a
so there's
conversation.
never been like a really like both teams are really good kind of series. I have Boston in seven.
I
Uh,
also have Boston in 7.
they're just a really tough team to pick against in a 7 game series,
Even then,
especially
yeah,
especially with Philly.
76ers are a tough team to pick against too. But
hmm it could go either
again,
way.
again, we talk about X factors for these teams before we got into the matchups, and for both teams, it was consistency, and whether that be consistency with their play or consistency with health,
hmm
consistency will decide this. And I like the Celtics consistency more than the 76ers.
Yeah, got Doc Rivers against his former team,
Yeah.
or
Long,
last team he won,
long, yeah, long
last
former
team he won the
team.
titles with. But yeah, I don't know. I think that'll be that could like when it's all said and done, that could be one of those series where it's not the NBA Finals, but is like one of the best series from the entire playoffs.
Yeah,
Um,
like 76ers Raptors in 2019. It's two just juggernauts that are going to be really good going against each other here.
And one thing that's really great just about the state of the league is that like the East for so long it was like, you know, for the 1 and 2 seed, the first 2 rounds or 3 seed or whatever was just kind of like practice. But in the second round, we're getting 2 series that could
Yeah.
be Eastern
Oh
Conference
yeah.
Finals worthy, like Bucks, Cavs, and then Celtics, Sixers. It's really awesome that they have like four really good teams in that conference. But yeah, I do have
It's finally fun seeing the East be fully good
yeah.
and not just like the top 3
hmm
teams are good.
No, it's awesome. Going back to the West, uh, in the second round, we have the 1 seeded Nuggets versus the 4 seeded Suns. Um, I'm curious to see who you pick. Kind of,
I
I feel like,
got
yeah,
I got this one
come on,
going 6.
yeah,
Phoenix,
yep, same for me.
because it's KD. It's KD.
Yeah, I don't
I,
know.
I I don't know. Like we'll keep going as we get on. Of course, I love what this Nuggets team has going on. I love their star player. I love Jokic and everything. And he is a good playoff performer. Like you can't knock him. They've made the Western Conference Finals before.
Yeah,
No, they lost to Portland in the one year
no,
I'm thinking of. But then they made it in the
yeah,
bubble year.
yep,
Um and then they lost to Portland in the second round before. And I see it happening like that Portland series where it's just like they're gonna be outmatched.
hmm
That's
yeah,
it's not that Denver's bad. It's just that this Suns team is too good.
yeah. I don't know. It's again same thing I said about the Celtics. It's so hard to pick against this Suns team.
Yeah, it's
It's
too
so
hard
hard to
to.
justify it. Yeah, and then
Well, as we keep going, I'm not going to be able to justify it. Spoiler alert.
yeah, um, yeah. So then the last series of the second round, we have the third
Seven
seeded.
seeded Lakers.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
third seeded Kings versus the
there's
seven
this.
seeded Lakers.
Kings.
I'm interested to see how you go with this.
Mine's in 6 too. These are both mine are in 6, and Lakers are gonna pick it up.
I
I
have
thought this
Lakers
was
in
gonna
six
be
as
the
well.
first. I thought this was gonna be the first round matchup. Lakers versus Kings. Like that was what everyone was kind of thinking. Like I kind of thought the Lakers were gonna end up with this 6 seed, and if
Yeah.
the Lakers did end up with the 6 seed, I think they beat the Kings in the first round.
hmm Yeah.
So I have
Me
them
too.
matching up in the second round instead now, and it's gonna happen in 6, just like it would have happened in the first round.
hmm
That's fully just experience. It's fully just experience.
Yeah. I
Same
yeah.
reason why I have the Lakers being the Grizzlies. It's just
hmm
experience.
I have
LeBron's been
Lakers
there
in
and
six
done
as
that.
well. Lakers in six as well. LeBron's got another run under his belt. He has to.
Yeah.
Um, will it be this year? We'll see. But yeah, we have the
I,
exact same second round. Like
yep.
literally every single pit to
Almost
down.
almost to the
Like
yeah
no, literally every single series is the
to the
same
game.
exact. Yep.
That's
We had
wow.
we had
Wow.
Bucks in
For
six.
yeah for
Or
making this in my bed at around like 3:30 today. That's pretty scary.
yeah, Bucks in six, Celtics in seven, Suns in six, Lakers in six. All right. The
Now
conference finals, we have Milwaukee versus Boston in the East and Phoenix versus LA in the West. I would
I
love this
love
to be the
these
final
series.
four. Like,
God, me too. That's
be
what I
great.
was immediately gonna say. Is that like just from a viewing perspective, this would be so much fun.
Yeah.
Like it, yeah.
Um, yeah. So,
We'll start in the East. We'll go Boston versus Milwaukee. Um, it's funny, just like 2021, I think it was Milwaukee going to the finals. I have them winning in 7
I
over
also
the
have Milwaukee
Celtics.
in 7 over the Celtics. Them having that one
Yeah,
seed is nice. They have
it's
the
it's just
home
if
game in Game
Boston was
7.
home, if Boston was home, I might
The Celtics in 7.
it might be Celtics in 7 going the other way
Plus, another
because
thing to
it's
consider
so even.
is
It's so
Middleton.
even.
Middleton, hopefully at this point in the playoffs, is more return to form.
For all of the for the sake of the NBA fans, please
hmm
have him be just 100% or at least 95% because I what I always remember is the memes of like Middleton just turning into MJ randomly in the playoffs. Like
Yeah. No,
I want
exactly.
that again. I want that so bad. I
And
love
and
that.
we don't
It's
want a
so much
repeat
fun
of
to
last
watch.
year. We don't want a
Yeah,
repeat of last year of
exactly,
you know,
exactly.
or of
It's just an empty
listening to
feeling.
people say
Yeah,
that the Bucks would have won with Middleton. Like, yes, I
yeah.
agree, but we need to see it happen. Middleton needs to be back. But I mean, listen, Middleton doesn't even need to be back.
Hey,
Giannis took them to 7 last year,
he took them to
pretty
7
much by
alone.
himself. Drew
Like
Holiday's
if
been playing
Middleton,
incredible
yeah,
this year. But yeah,
Yeah, Holiday's better this year than he was last year, and if Milton can come back and if he's even 60%, like
mhm.
as you said, there was no Milton last year and it was 7, so
Yeah,
we'll see. But
I'm
that'll
really
be a
excited
great series.
about this playoffs. So I do have Milwaukee coming out of the East, and then yeah,
Yep, me too.
I know
And
we
then
have the same winner in this just because of things you said. But how many
yeah,
games?
5 games.
All right, we
I really
differ.
think they take care of business here.
I also could see that happening. I just got to
Yeah,
give LeBron a little bit of
you
credit.
got you gotta give LeBron his love. He does deserve it.
We have a
Yes.
2021 Finals rematch.
Yep.
I have the Suns going to the finals to play the
5.
Bucks.
Yeah. Suns in 5. I just and then it's also just like KD. Is this his best supporting cast other than the Warriors? Like
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is second to the Warriors, and the Warriors supporting cast dismantled LeBron
hmm Yeah.
in 5 games. So most of the times when they were in a series together, it was in 5. So just seeing it happening again. But now we got 2021 Finals rematch. For me personally, after this going 7 games, I really think this will be the most even matchup we've seen.
I have it
How
only
many?
going
Yeah,
6.
only 6. So who do you have winning then? If you're only going 6, for me, this is a real toss up.
It is a real toss up for me as well. Just to say it's in 6 games doesn't mean that it's not a toss
True.
up. Uh,
Fair.
but because that 6th game will be on their home floor, the Phoenix Suns will walk away with the championship this year.
Oh my
Um,
goodness, we have the
we have the same
same
bracket.
playoffs
Same
because
bracket.
I Phoenix. I have in 7 though. I have
Well,
them
that's the
doing
thing
them
about the
in
NBA.
Milwaukee.
An interesting thing to say is like,
Okay,
you
all
know,
right. I have my tiebreaker is written down for the tiebreaker is what will the point margin be in Game 1 of the NBA Finals? How much is in
that's
this it
the
says how much?
just game one.
Yeah, just Game 1. What's the point margin going to be for the winner and loser? Not even the team, just point margin. That's the tiebreaker.
Um, it was 13 the last time they played in game one, only because I watched Suns versus Bucks mini movie last night. Um, I'll go uh let's go
Please don't.
Giannis's number combined plus KD's number in Brooklyn. 7 point difference. Down?
7 point difference.
Sure.
I had an 8 point difference.
Wow.
So I was hoping you
What if I
weren't
said
gonna say
8?
it. I know I was gonna leave, but that would have been podcast over.
Yeah. Um
So no. But
it's
I just
it's going to be a
I've
really good
yeah.
playoff. I'm so
But
excited.
But for me, while I was thinking about it, because this is really 50-50 for me,
Mhm.
Phoenix Suns and Milwaukee here. Because how often I think it's been what one time only we've seen KD versus Giannis in the playoffs. And it
True.
was a foot on the line. It was a toe on the line that decided that series. And I really think this Phoenix Suns supporting cast is better than that Brooklyn supporting cast. So
I agree with that,
Brooklyn
but
in 7.
the thing
Or
that
not
I will
Brooklyn,
say,
Suns in 7.
the thing that could be to the Suns' detriment is like at this point in the series or at this point in the playoffs, like are they are they still fully healthy? Um,
Oh, of course, that's a scary
another
thing to
thing
predict.
another thing
But
too is the Bucks beat them in the finals a few years ago. You
yeah,
know, Bridges and Johnson and Jay Crowder were pretty big parts of that Suns team.
Jay
And then
Crowder was the Giannis assignment, in all fairness. So yeah,
yeah,
especially Cam Johnson too. But
I would love a KD Giannis finals.
I think Aiton is also a bit more. built now, and I think Aiton is a lot more capable of guarding Giannis than he was back 2 years ago.
Yeah. The thing is like unless like Sacramento, you know, goes on a run to the finals, and not to say De'Aaron Fox is not a superstar, I just don't think like compared to
I mean,
like Giannis's
if
and
they make a
KD's.
finals run, I'll call him a superstar. But
Sure.
until then,
Yeah, I
no.
guess at that point he would break through that
Yeah,
you know
echelon of
classification.
players. Yeah.
But either way, we're gonna get like a all-time great finals matchup, whether it's like Embiid
Oh,
versus Curry, Jokic versus Donovan Mitchell.
or
Like just either way,
LeBron
there's
versus
just
Giannis. Yeah,
yeah,
it could be good
a
no matter
A
what.
LeBronus finals would be very good, and
Never heard that one
that's
before.
spelt um
Ali
Lebinnias. Or wait,
LeBronus.
I think I just said Labinius or something. Yeah.
Labanus. No,
And
but
then
LeBron's
Finals
best friend.
MVP, KD.
Yeah. Katie's won Finals MVP in all the finals he's won, and
Mhm.
I don't
And
see
just
anyone
and the
stealing it
thing
from
too
him.
is just like when you're going up against Giannis, like if they're gonna win that series, it's gonna be because KD, outduels Giannis. So
Yeah, and
I
if
think
the
it's
Bucks
easy
win
to
that,
give
it's
it to
gonna be
him.
because Giannis outduels Katie.
Exactly. Like
But
you like Middleton, Drew Holiday, Chris Paul, Booker, those are all guys
even
capable of being
even
Finals
Aiden.
MVPs. Yeah, maybe not Aiton when there's just those other three.
Yeah, wow. The disrespect to Aiden. I think if Aiden could put up a 22 and like 12 boards a game, and Giannis is
Finals MVP though.
yeah,
I,
realistically, no,
I think
that's
at
not
that
gonna
point,
do it for him.
if Aiton's the best player on the Suns, they'd just throw pity Finals MVP to Chris Paul at that point. Like,
Give it to him so he ends his career off on a bang.
and then one last thing I want to mention about the Suns is that as much as they gave up for KD, um, well, first of all, if they don't win a title, it's a bad trade.
Yep.
Second of all,
I mean, they still have 3 more years of KD, so
exactly.
we
But
we
it's
have,
just
we
one of
have
those trades.
time.
Like some trades can be win-win long term, but like this is one of those like if you don't win the finals because of
Yeah,
this,
like the Laker
it's
trade.
it's a bad trade. But no, I love bringing in KD so much just because it takes off so much of the scoring load off of Chris Paul, and he can just he's not the same offensive player he used to be like scoring wise, but now he can just like I wouldn't be surprised if he averages like 15 assists a game in these playoffs.
That'd be
Like
crazy, but yeah, honestly, that would be the best. Like until they start to leave him open, yeah, he should just pass it, and pass it until they leave him open. And then once they leave him open, then we'll see some Chris Paul 20 pieces.
yeah, I just think this Phoenix team,
It's just
they're
so
just
much going for them.
yeah, it's just the same vibes as Golden State. Like I wouldn't have picked against Golden State in the years that they had KD. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna pick against them. I'm gonna cheer against them.
Oh,
But
completely.
yeah, I'm gonna be like the biggest Clippers fan in 2 days. Like
Let's go
throwback.
Kawhi.
Yeah,
Cheer for him like
exactly.
he never left.
Man, imagine Kawhi just has a Kawhi series and Russ just all of a sudden turns back the clock
Oh,
just because they're
that'd be
playing
so
against
exciting.
KD. They
I
get the
really
upset. That'd
think
be
the
amazing.
potential for storylines for this playoffs is second to none for any playoffs we've seen in the past before. Like we are going to watch some incredible stuff happen. I really
Yeah,
believe that. And
it's
it's
gonna be
going to
great
start with the plan.
basketball.
I really think this plan is going to start off with a bang tomorrow night. So I
Yeah.
can't wait.
The funny
Tomorrow
thing
night or
is
maybe tonight, depending when this comes out.
yeah, the funny thing is like the even with the play-in, I think the most like imbalanced first round matchup is probably Philly Brooklyn still.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Philly
like
Brooklyn or whoever the
there's just
Nuggets
not a
face.
bad series. Like in mine, Milwaukee versus Toronto. Like yeah, Milwaukee's gonna win that handily, but like I'll have enjoyment level of that just because the Raptors are in there.
Yeah.
And the Raptors have given Giannis some problems in the past, so maybe he has to get over that hump because he's never beat the Raptors in the playoffs. He's 0-2. That
Yeah.
2019 series, and then also like I don't know 2017 they played in the first round. And then Denver, Minnesota, like that would be my 1-8. You don't have that, but like Denver, New Orleans, that'd be a great 1-8 still.
It would be a fun one, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm really
Yeah.
happy with the playoffs.
I'm happy
I'm
with the
excited.
season too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've come to terms with the Suns winning the finals. But again, it's always fun to have a villain in the playoffs too,
Yeah.
especially if they lose. It just
Yeah,
it
exactly
like
what I was gonna say. It's fun to pick someone to win the finals before or before the playoffs even start because when they do
mhm.
lose, it'll feel twice as sweet.
Being a LeBron fan, I would obviously want them over the Suns in that Western Conference Finals. But like if that doesn't happen, if Milwaukee beats Phoenix in this NBA Finals, like I would consider this, looking back at it, potentially the greatest like playoff, greatest season that I've ever been
Oh,
able to
if
witness.
Milwaukee ends up on top, yeah, completely agreed.
Yeah, not much more to talk about.
No,
We'll have more. The thing with the NFL playoffs was kind of just like a 1 week thing, where it was just like the next matchup happened each week. But like these playoff series can last 2 weeks, so we'll be having more like
yeah,
podcasts throughout the run of the playoffs, and then also NHL playoffs is coming up soon. So got a lot of playoff content coming for you guys. We're
yeah,
we're
and we'll
really
be
excited.
prioritizing playoffs coming up here as this is what really matters, and then we'll have
Mhm.
all summer to talk about
Yeah,
baseball.
NHL's only got a few days until the brackets probably set. So expect that within the next week. We got sports fans are literally set for the next 2 months. You can just come home, throw on whatever game is on, and you're gonna be entertained. So,
Yes, sir.
uh, best of luck to the teams that are in the playoffs. Best of luck to um whoever's playing Phoenix. Uh, and yeah, I hope you
Yeah,
guys enjoy it. And thanks for listening to the Sports Podcast.
see you all in the next one.